So before we start with the much awaited talk from Professor Amar Kumar Mahopatra, I'll just introduce and glance through the Women in Big Data chapter through which we are actually conducting this program. I hope my screen is visible, Abhilasha.
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible.
Yeah. So dear participants, a very good evening to everyone. This is Women in Big Data India chapter. And we launched on October 2nd, 2020, on the day of Gandhi Jayanti. And it was an event which actually had a lot of following, and you can see that on the website. I'll just very quickly glance through what is Women in Big Data and what is its vision and mission, and just introduce very briefly to the India chapter and what is the data in India and the opportunities that is available. The Women in Big Data India Executive Council, Women in Big Data India structure and programs, the India University chapter. So far we have very few universities we have tied together with the India chapter and supporting it. And we look forward to more university chapters joining us. And how the students can also join, it is basically not through individual membership, it is open. And we look forward to the universities to join with us. So this is a very brief about, gist of how the obstacles for women in STEM is observed. We usually find that in the age group of 6 to 12, about 66% of girls and 68% of boys are in 4th grade, which report that, yes, they like science. By the time they are in the age group of 12 to 18, it is only about 26 to 32% of high school girls that like computer science as a good career option. As you further grow, and you have 18 in the age group of 18 to 22, 18% of computer science graduates are women. And this is much down, which is 37% down since it was in 1985. These statistics that we are sharing is not only the Indian perspective or India statistic, it is the statistics throughout the world. Then in the age group of 22 to 30, we find about 12% of engineers are employed by the tech companies, which are women. And in the age group 30 to 45, we find 50% of women in STEM. They leave due to the environment in the workplace. And then about only 3%, it has been reported by Fortune, about 500 CEOs are only female. So the statistics are not very encouraging. And when we talk about women in big data, we do not say it is only an organization where women should be there. We look forward to our other counterparts, male, who should come forward, and then together is how we can make up a society. I come from a university which is primarily only for women. It's a government women university, which is called Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University for Women. And we find companies coming over for placements with respect to diversity, inclusion of diversity in the organizations. But at the same time, it is going to be very difficult if the girls are not well equipped. So this is one chapter, that is Women in Big Data. We look forward to inspire, connect, grow, and champion the success of women in big data, where there is a lot of job opportunities coming up. And I'm very quickly going through it because I understand our expert speaker is there waiting for the talk to start. So I'm a bit quick, otherwise I could have talked more about it. The global organizational structure of this WIBD is there are 7 members at the Global Executive Committee. And then we have in North America, Latin America, all these details you can even see and have on our website. They are available. Some of the partners with the chapter at global level, and the corporate partners and our sponsors are just given on this slide. And then coming down to women in big data. because in India chapter, we started, and we want to inform everyone about this. We have the India chapter being led by two very dynamic women leaders, who is Ekta Mehul and Soumya Moni. They have a huge experience of academics as well as industry with them. I'm running a bit quick. Then we have an executive council team, and all these details are available on the website. So Mr. Piyush is there, Dr. Abhilasha is there, Dr. Lavleen Gaur, Ms. Vanita Parshad, Dr. Sudendra, myself, Meenakshi Arun, and Dr. Jasdeep. And then, yeah, this is more with respect to the India perspective. The earlier one slide I took was with respect to the world. And we have, I'm just glad, this is what I wanted to share. The India chapter is actually consisting of 5 vertical pillars. It is Vidya, Saraswati, Shakti, Gayatri, and Lakshmi. The technical top of today, and what we started last month also, it is under the pillar Vidya, which is about knowledge dissemination to bridge the divide between industry and academia. We have other 4 pillars, which you can just go through in the website. And the way I was just talking to you, we have 3 universities which have initially shown their faith and have collaborated with the India chapter. One is the Delhi State University, which is Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University for Women. We have GSFC University, Vadodara. And the 3rd university chapter is Amity International Business School, Data Science and AI. So this is a very gist of the India chapter, university chapter at IGDTUW. We have GSFC, Dr. Abhilasha, who is managing the whole show today, and Amity International University. The coordinator is Dr. Lavleen. So we invite the students to be a member of this movement and a partner of this. For any further queries and other events which are connected with the India chapter, we would request the student and the corporate world to just keep a tap on the website. And we really have many programs coming across. So with that, I just stop sharing my screen and introduce you to the speaker of the day, Professor Mahopatra. I hope Mahopatra sir can switch on his camera and he can come on board. Dr. A.K. Mahopatra, he's a professor in the Department of Information Technology at IGDTUW. He has been an associate professor and head of the department in the university since 2014. And presently he is working as a chief technical advisor and CISO of Delhi Police. He has been awarded as the best teacher of the GGS IPU University, where he had served for before, in between. He was here. He has a long career on academics, and he has been awarded as a career guru in the National Employability Conclave also. He's a member of IEEE, life member Computer Science Society of India, and has published more than 50 research papers in referred journals and conferences. His research work has primarily been in the area of cryptography, and his PhD degree is also in the same area. And his MTech is from IIT Dhanbad. He's also a member of technical committee in many organizations in government, and he is very active in various organizations in Government of India and a technical representative of Delhi Police. I'm so very happy to invite Dr. A.K. Mahopatra to this forum. And he over to you, sir. I think I can go on and on because he's so humble and down to earth. That is one thing I wanted to talk about. And he's very knowledgeable. And with all that, a lot to talk about him. But without wasting more time, over to you, sir, the platform for you to say. Thank you so much, Abhilasha. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jasdeep ma'am. Thank you, Madam Abhilasha. Thank you. Devendra Tayal sir also is there. Actually, he was my boss when I was a faculty in IGDTU. He was heading one of the department. I worked under him also.
I'm sorry, just a minute. I'll just interrupt. I didn't see Professor Tayal. Professor Tayal, welcome to this forum. I was so busy, just talking about it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Professor, I'll just introduce. Sir, please give me 1 minute.
No, ma'am. There is no need to
D.K.
introduce
Tayal.
me.
Sir, just a minute. Professor D.K. Tayal.
Ma'am, I'm waiting to listen Dr. Mahapatra. Let's open the show to him so that I can also get benefit.
Let me introduce Tayal sir. I have already introduced because he was my boss earlier. I worked under Tayal sir, and he was really I really missing while. I mean to say, it was really difficult to replace Tayal sir as a boss in any organization, even in Delhi Police. So anyhow, thanks Tayal sir, Madam Jasdeep, and Madam Abhilasa, and all dear participants. My talk basically it's a mixed one. This is all about cyber threat landscape and some cyber security awareness and some government initiatives. Then I will be talking the most deserved topic, that is called cyber threat as well as cyber threat intelligence, and a security applications of cyber threat intelligence in a practical forum, that is called Security Operations Center. And recently Delhi Police is going to launch its own cyber operations center also, that is Security Operations Center. A brief, because I had an impression that there is only BTech and MTech students. I found that, okay, cyber threat intelligence was never being taught in their I think it was not included in their syllabus in IGDTU. I hope that this topic will be interesting, but here I found that, okay, there are many participants I think, who are working under software development and other industries. If they are experiencing a cyber security operations center, then that can be helpful for them. Anyhow, let us talk. Let me share my screen. Yeah, before going to, because this is a 1 hour session and the topic is very large, because I have to talk about cyber security principles, then cyber threat, the landscape. Landscape really is a tough task, because you see the entire domain of landscape, then cyber threat intelligence, then cyber threat intelligence platform and its utility. Just a brief introductions about cyber, the topics that will be recent cyber attacks, trends, taxonomy, and in Indian scenario, how, and even if Delhi Police initiative, how particularly a citizen can approach a Delhi Police in case of a cyber attack. Then cyber threat intelligence, threat platform, then cyber security framework and security operations center. There is a brief introductions of, before going to discuss about, mostly we'll talk about cyber security. Courtesy is NIST. This slide is from NIST. Protecting electronic devices and associated data and information. When we talk about electronic devices, now the landscape has been changed. Earlier it was computer, and now the induction of IoT and drones, CCTV, city surveillance projects. Therefore, the electronic devices is more, the data that is being obtained from the sensors and many electronic devices is more. Therefore, I thought that, okay, big data plays an important role for providing cyber security offensive measures. I mean to say cyber security counter, whenever there is attack, big data plays an important, even if recently next generation firewall and proactive security measures that is really in place, and many organizations who are actually deploying cyber security threat intelligence platform that is mostly on AI based, as well as big data is an important application there. Therefore, just a brief introduction about when we talk about cybersecurity objectives. Whenever a cybersecurity services is required, then we'll be talking about confidentiality, integrity, as well as availability. These are the three aspects we need to discuss. The signs of achieving confidentiality, integrity, and availability, that is through cryptography. I mean to say, whenever we need to talk about confidentiality, therefore, we need intelligent applications of cryptography to provide confidentiality. Similarly, we have already, if a security student, if you are doing any basic courses on security, then you must be aware about cryptography, encryptions, decryptions, all these of crypto analysis. Therefore, confidentiality is a part where we need to do encryption, key management is another important concept to achieve confidentiality. Similarly, if we talk about integrity, Then whenever a message is being sent from a sender A to a receiver B, then the message which is being sent, it needs to be in its original form. There is a chance that in between the channel, there might be a possible that message can be intercepted. And if it is intercepted, it can also interpreted. We can make confidentiality procedures to make the information, I think the data not to be informative. But in case of integrity, particularly the data needs to be any eavesdropping, I mean to say any change of the content that can be detected as well as managed. Secured hash algorithm, message digest, these are certain cryptographic principles which provides integrity. Digital signature is also a part of authentication where integrity is embedded. Similarly, availability, whenever I'm actually very briefly discussing all these things in a hurriedly way, because I have to cover many things. In case in between, if you have any doubts, then please hands off, and you can make me, the chat is open there. You can ask me questions. It will be better if you can put your questions through chat box. Therefore, availability, information needs to be available when it is on demand. Therefore, it is possible that information may not be available when it is required. It is because of certain cyber attacks. Mean to say either my network is being paralyzed, my devices may be paralyzed, or certain things can be managed. That is the reason that all these security services is to be assured whenever a cyber security is to be maintained. This is the brief objective of, or a layman's language, we can say that cyber security objectives that takes care of confidentiality, integrity, availability, and other things. Therefore, I have discussed confidentiality. This is what I discussed: protecting information from unauthorized access and disclosure, that is through encryptions. We have many types of encryptions. In case of at present, we have AES 256. If you, I mean to say, if somebody is working on any encryption standards also, then they will find that, okay, it is based on, I think, some cryptographic principles. I mean to say, we do not have any computing principles or computational infrastructure which can solve certain problems of mathematics. Based on these principles, this confidentiality, I mean to say, this encryption or cryptography is being managed. This is confidentiality. Therefore, next we'll talk about integrity. I have already discussed integrity, any change of the content that can be, I think, protected or as well as detected. Secured hash algorithm, as well as message digest. I think these are certain principles where integrity can be achieved. Similarly, availability I have already discussed. Then we'll be talking about, because before going to this threat landscape, we must need to threat vulnerability, likelihood, and its impact. These are again NIST speculations. I mean to say NIST, I think slides that has been taken from NIST. But before going to threats, vulnerabilities, likelihood, and its impact, these are the procedures of any risk management. But we'll be talking of vulnerabilities because this is the basic concept of risk management, where we'll be talking about technological vulnerability, policy-related vulnerability, as well as platform vulnerability. These are the three vulnerabilities where it can be exploited to have a cyber attack. Particularly, give an example of a technological vulnerability. Suppose in computer science students, they might be knowing about the C memory layout. If they are doing a C programming language, then the memory layout have certain technical vulnerabilities that leads to buffer overflow. Therefore, in case of it, if it will be changed by a Java or C++ language where array out of bound index mechanism is there, then this attack or this vulnerability can be matched. Therefore, if the technology is old, then these vulnerabilities can be exploited. Similarly, if the policy, I mean to say the policy is being framed, but it is not accepted by the user, or there is certain things that policy is not being maintained or implemented, then this leads to some sorts of, I think, problems. Similarly, platform vulnerability, you have already came across with many types of defacements of waves and other things, web sources or web, I think, sites. This is due to where it is being hosted, what type of defenses that has been deployed. Therefore, whenever there is a vulnerability, then there is a likelihood of, I mean to say, these vulnerabilities can be exploited to have certain sorts of cyber security breaches. And then the impact, particularly, this is a very, I think, very, I mean to say, qualitatively, we can just say what is it's the impact. The impact can be major, can be moderate, or can be significant. That is the reason that how the impact can be analyzed. Then there is a part of risk management which we'll discuss about asset evaluation. What type of assets? This is again major criteria of risk management where the impact analysis needs to be done. That means when we'll talk about asset, information is a resource with highest organizational value. Therefore, to evaluate its value, that is a tough task. Therefore, these are actually some I think parameters which we need to analyze various threat landscape. Therefore, this is I'm not sure why it is. Just a minute, let me. Okay. Yeah. The threat is more closely associated with the actor or adversary attempting to gain access to a system. Or a threat might be identified by the damage being done, what is being stolen, or tactics, techniques, and procedures. Therefore, what are the tactics, techniques, and procedures that is being used by the adversary? That is actually more important in case of a threat analysis. And because we will be discussing about the landscape, here actually there is a brief introductions about the common threats in 2012 to 2020, how the threat has been changed. Therefore, in 2012, social engineering, particularly social engineered Trojans, unpatched softwares, phishing, network traveling worms, advanced persistent threats, these are relevant. But in 2018 actually, or 2020, we have the technology that has been changed drastically. We have the concept of IoT, CCTVs, because anybody has aware about Mirai types of attacks where CCTV, because city surveillance projects, everywhere in India, there is a smart city where many sensors and CCTVs that is being deployed. And therefore, this is CCTV is not a camera, there is a computer inside a camera, and all these cameras are being networked, and it is being connected with a command and control center. Therefore, whatever being things earlier, it was not being extensively used, but today this is a part of any city surveillance project. Similarly, we have drones, and we have IoT, we have cloud computing. Therefore, if you talk about 2012 and 2020, there is I think vast change in the technology. Therefore, the threat perceptions in 2012 and recent, there is also a dramatic change. Therefore, the recent trends, I'm quite, I think, fast. It is because I have to cover 60 slides in 60 minutes. That's why I think anybody has a problem or questions, they can raise their hands. Anyhow, these are the latest trends: cloud, big data, IoT, W-band, mobile devices, drones. These are the new technologies that is being coming. Therefore, the threats associated with these new technologies that is being there. That is the reason that there is a change in threat landscape. If we talk about I think courtesy Bhavna Narwal, my PhD student, she has developed this slide in 1990 to 2020, how I think the growth of various threats. In 90s, particularly, we talk about virus, breaking websites, fast worms. Similarly, in 2000, we will be talking about advanced worms, identity theft, malicious code, phishing, Trojans. These are the basic concepts. I think you must have aware about that. Botnets, because there is many literature available to understand these concepts. What is the cyber, I think, kill chain process of all these, I think, various malwares. Therefore, even 2000 to 2007, we have botnets, denial of service, distributed denial of service, DNS, activism, malicious mail, spyware, SQL attacks. SQL attacks, even if you know, even if SQL injections, that is being everywhere. I think this is being input in our syllabus also in BTech and MTech in network security. People must be knowing about SQL injections, buffer overflow, social engineering. Still, social engineering is one of the major criteria in Indian context, because many of the 50% of the cyber crime that is related issue is through social, I think, engineering process. And website defacements, these are actually the major threats during 2007. Into 2014, the change is like the data theft, advanced persistent theft, banking malware, because e-commerce, m-commerce, that was actually there during these periods. Phone hijacking, identity theft, POS attacks, dynamic trojans, key loggers, bots. These are actually the threats are relevant in 2007 to 14. And recently, the induction of IoT as well as ransomware attacks, because there was some vulnerabilities in some of the platform that is being exploited. Therefore, the insider attack is common. Ransomware, Android mobile devices has been inducted. Therefore, the malwares in Androids, iOS, cyber warfare, cyber espionage, cyber terrorism, critical information attacks. Therefore, now every country has a critical information infrastructure protections. In India, we have also a CIIP under Ministry of Home, and every country now they have their CIIP, how to protect critical information infrastructures, because you see cyber terrorism and cyber that is also being there. It is being governed by state actors, being managed by government agencies also. How I think particularly you see most of the critical information infrastructures is being managed by a computer or a computer related process. Therefore, once it is being managed with a internet or a computer related process, if proper cyber security measure is not there, then it needs to be, I think it is vulnerable. And I mean to say the opponents and the adversary is always managing, or they can always in the tendency to sabotage the cyber information infrastructures. That's the reason that CIIP is, I think, is an important, I think, concept in recent days. Therefore, these are actually the current scenario, how from 1990 to 2020, how the landscape has been changed. Because of it is the, if we go to the analysis part, it is not being covered. Then it is being the induction of new technologies, then lack of cyber security awareness, because we are using many equipments, many things, but we are not aware about how to maintain the security. Third will be funding is also required to maintain the security. And these are certain things I think we need to understand. This is how the escalating cyber threats from 1990 to 2020. If we talk about in context of India, the major top 5 cybercrime, I think courtesy Deepak from Cyber Intelligence, from there it has been copied. 1 to 3, most of the first 1 to 3 frauds, that is through financial frauds, payment, phishing, wallet, OLX. I think some things I mean to say I will take 10 minutes. How this I think frauds that is relevant. Online social media frauds 25%. It is fake profile, bullying, hacking, revenge. I think most of the people, I think once in a life must be I think faced with certain types of cyber frauds. Then what is actually your role whenever you are facing a cyber fraud? Then how to tackle this thing? I will be giving one slide. What are the various government initiatives, where to approach, and what things needs to be taken care of. Delhi Police really is one of the pioneer or I think technically equipped police forces in India. Therefore, we have many modernization projects currently running. And so far as the cyber security is concerned, we have an NCFL, National Cyber Forensics Lab, and we have a CyPad Center, which I think CyPad. You please go to the website, then you find what is the functioning of CyPad, how CyPad will help you to manage any types of cyber, I think, frauds. Then other cyber crimes, that is job frauds, matrimonial site frauds, that leads to 25%. A brief introductions, actually, Amazon gift cards, you must be aware about these types of frauds. I'm not going through the details because I have to another 30 minutes to left. Therefore, this is how a modus operandi. I will share the slides to the students who needs it. That can be, but you see, these are certain frauds that is being reported in certain, I think, law enforcement agencies. The cases are not there, but the generic view is there. This is Facebook, fake profile, SOS message fraud. That means somehow the credentials is being hacked and some Facebook profile being managed. Similarly, fake government websites, Recently, I think COVID period, I think Delhi police, they have managed to crack many, I think, cyber fraud cases. That means through Ayushman Yojana, Kisan Yojana, and many schemes that is being launched in government, and I think that is being, I think some adversary or criminals, they are misusing. I think they are creating fake websites to manage, and they are charging fees for I think unauthenticated, or um, um, they are generally publishing unauthenticated job profiles, and they charge this money. And even if the consequences will be the criminals are picked off and they are in the bar. Similarly, fake shopping websites. This is the criminal, I think, one sorts of things. And Facebook friendships. I'm not giving the details because it was there. I thought that I must share what are the various things, cybercrime related incidents in Indian context. Job frauds, it is not Indian content, perhaps in other continents or other countries also same types of things are also going on. But here actually KBC lottery frauds, OLX QR code. Recently, I think somebody using a army or paramilitary personnel's contact to make, I think, some fraudulent transactions through Paytm, Google Pay, or certain things. Similarly, Paytm, KYC, and AnyDex app fraud. You see, even if many people are complaining that okay, their OTP is being shared, their Paytm is being managed, it is because lack of awareness, because they are clicking wrong websites, as well as they are somehow the criminals, they are using social engineering to manage the OTP and other sorts of things. Now, I'll be discussing about, I think, the initiatives. Suppose you are some students or any participants in India, if particularly they fall victim of any cybercrime, and we have a national cybercrime reporting portal anywhere in the country. You can directly go to the Ministry of Home Affairs websites. Here, actually, this is the cybercrime.gov.in. Please, after this, I think, session, please go through this website. You will find, I think, one of the, I hope that any types of cybercrime related issues that can be managed here. Therefore, if the crime is related to women, because this is particularly a women chapter, then there is a specific, I think, link where women and child, they can, I think, report their crime. Therefore, you see, even if you do not want to, I think, publish your name anonymized way, also you can report, even if you can track what is the status of the cybercrime. Then you have citizen manual, cyber safety tips, cyber awareness, many things are there in this portal. Therefore, this is a Government of India initiative. I urge that you all please have a look into this NCCRP portal. And suppose even if they are recently they have launched a number 155260, you can dial in case suppose just you have victimized by a cyber fraud, then immediately a response will be generated, and you may get back to your transactions which is being managed through a cyber criminal. This is a simple, I think, just a introductions about what is being done in NCFL. Citizen Financial Cyber Fraud Reporting and Management System that is already been activated in Delhi Police websites also you will get, or even if cybercrime.gov.in websites you will get. Therefore, these are some of the initiatives from Government of India scenario. Now, even in a lockdown, I think many, cyber crimes has already been increased. I don't think that it is required. But I'll be talking about the common sources of cyber threats that includes, just go through the slides. It is through nation states and national governments, terrorists, industrial spies, organized crime groups, activists, business competitors, and disgruntled insiders. These are actually common sources of cyber threats. And here actually I discussed about a taxonomy of cyber threats. It is actually a vast topic. But however, I have concluded in one slide, courtesy Bhavna Narwal, who has prepared this slide. This is actually the taxonomy is being managed with Target. Target here is industry, industrial applications, mobile operating systems, operating system, web browser, social network, and network. Even if we have published on paper, if you can write taxonomy of cyber threats, you will find actually the minutely what are various threats associated with industrial applications, mobile operating systems, even if all types of mobile operating system that has been taken care of here, whether it is iOS, Android, and Windows mobile systems. Then operating system as such, I think Mac or Windows or Linux. Similarly, web browser, what type of browsers, what is their vulnerabilities, and what is the target of the cyber threats, social networks, and network systems. Therefore, this is target sectors, and this is the entire taxonomy related to, I think, the cyber threats. Then attack classes will be malware, drive-by download, social engineering, malvertising, code executions, external devices, denial of services, and man-in-middle attack. This is actually the attack classes. And malware, particularly Trojan, virus, ransomware, worm, botnet, spyware, and rootkit. Please, you go through the original paper that has been published by, I am a co-author along with Bhavna Narwal. And degrees of gain, even if Kalim Usmani, who is the head sort from Mauritius, he is also a co-author of this paper. And degrees of access gain, non-user and root, similarly, origin of local or remote threat severity, particularly the severity can be measured qualitatively, whether it is very low, low, moderate, or high, or very high. Similarly, breach in security, I have already discussed about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Any breach of one of the services that leads to a cyber attack. This is actually then threat consequences, either whether it will be a financial fraud, information leakage, information theft, performance degradations. This is actually the slides self-explanatory, it is given. Then the motivation. Therefore, if we talk about the taxonomy of cyber threats, it covers all. Therefore, because it's quite difficult to complete each one by one, but this is in one slide where it covers almost all cyber threats reported during 2014 to 2019. Therefore, the little literature that is available in a Taylor Francis website. Therefore, you can, if you have a time, you please go through this. Then actually, this is actually some examples of target taxonomy. I mean, the Stuxnet, the target systems. What is the target system? What is the attack class? What is the degree of access gain? What is the confidentiality or integrity? What is the breach? And what is the threats consequences? What is the motivation? It is related to the industrial applications. It talks about Stuxnet, Zeus, Trojan, Rokra, Red, and Red October. These are certain, I think, cyber, threat names with respect to, industrial applications. Similarly, these are certain threat names with respect to mobile operating system. These are certain threats, but in the literature, you will get a detailed picture. It talks about Gitmo, Zeus, and Exent, spyware, Trojan. Similarly, the last one did that discuss about the threats affecting web browser applications. Here, browser, we have taken up most of the, popular browsers, Operation Aurora, DigiNotar, LAC, even if Cortex Trojans, Mozilla, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, and almost all, browsers that has been taken, and what is the cyber threat, and what is its consequences, and what is the motivations, all these concepts that is being covered. This is actually a complete landscape. No doubt I'm hurriedly explaining, but it is a detailed picture. Therefore, the participants are advised, they go to the original research paper published by Bhavna Narwal and myself, along with Kalim Usmani, and it is available Information Security Journal, I think. Then the next topic that will be, I will be discussing about cyber threat intelligence. Now it is almost necessary in almost all, organizations. Once my organization is declared to be critical, or my information infrastructure is declared as critical, then I must have a cyber threat intelligence platform to understand, to explain various Ws. Particularly, we'll be talking about 5 Ws. When, how, who I'll be. I hope that this is there. And you see, it talks about particularly threat intelligence. It takes inputs from various sources and process the, data. And whenever we'll talk about the data processing, the data is big data here, because the inputs that is coming from many sources. If we'll talk about many sources, that would be talk about some open source intelligence that is from, city surveillance equipments, and I think public dimensions and private dimensions, my own network, my own threat intelligence scenarios. Therefore, the data is used. I think most of the popularly available, I think threat intelligence platforms, they use big data and AI to produce some actionable intelligence. The output will be in terms of a input to the security operations center, and that is called a security orchestration and automation response and security incident event management. These are actually this is courtesy Deepak from Cyber Intelligence. The Gartner defines threat intelligence as threat intelligence is evidence-based knowledge, context mechanism indicators, implications, and action-oriented advice. Therefore, it talks about information, first of all, then insight analysis, then ultimately it will be helping to recommendations, any cyber defense principles. Therefore, the last one is understood that it will be providing decisions in our policy. Second one's a research that we need some insight and analysis using big data or certain machine learning or AI-based applications. The first one, there is data need to be converted to information. Therefore, what is being there, this is what we called, this is, I think, Gartner's definitions. The slide is being sourced from Deepak. It is available in SlideShare. Similarly, the sources, particular inputs will be attacks telemetry from clients. For example, if you're talking any, I think, IT industry, then they have many clients. For example, if you will talk about Infosys or TCS or Wipro in Indian context, they have thousands of clients, hundreds of clients, and every client they are reporting their incidents, and this is being collected. Then malware samples, investigations, public and private information sources, websites monitoring, social media, communication channels. These are actually the data is being collected. Therefore, data is terms of hues, and this is actually sources and indicators. Actually, the attack signatures, domain names, host names, IP addresses, file names, registry data, vulnerabilities, cataloged malwares. These are actually the threat indicators which generally fed to a threat intelligence management system to produce an actionable intelligence. To provide deliverable, deliver will be here 5 W's: who is attacking, how and why, this, and what does the threat mean, how do you register, and what actions should you take. I'm talking about this is 5 W's: who its enemies are, what are their capabilities, when they intend to do something, where they will do it, why they want to do it, and how they intend to do it. These are actually the deliver of a cyber threat intelligence. And the platform particularly, this is, I think I've already covered, this is cyber threat intelligence platform. This is the intelligence as such here, courtesy the slides available in free source. Knowledge of a threat gained by human analyst, along with technical knowledge of attacks, including indicators, then human intelligence, they all together that will be taken care of. Then the platform is particularly a packaged product that integrates with existing tools and products, presenting a threat intelligence management system that automates and simplifies much of the work analysts have traditionally done themselves. This is actually the platform where it talks about many tools, products, and we need a threat management information system to provide output where the deliverable as is already been discussed. This is how a threat intelligence platform looks like. I think the inputs from open source, premium, third party, because now every industry or organization has their own intelligence platform, particularly Cisco, NIC, and even if, Palo Alto and RSA, Accenture, they have many companies, they are actually commercially available third-party sources. Then in every organization has their own internal intelligence, even if shared intelligence. Then this the middle part will be the process analysis, where big data and AI plays an important role. The output will be security incident, event management, inputs to the firewall, intrusion prevention system, endpoint, and security orchestration, automations, and response. This is actually what I called, this is the classical example of a threat intelligence platform. Now it is being, because no such of, I think many literatures are not available so far as operations is concerned. Therefore, this is the right area, even if you can do your research, because malware is one of I think indicators where malware research is currently progressive. I mean to say, even if you are a student, you can exploit a tool that is A sandbox is also available. Cuckoo sandbox is available. I think this is available in open source. Even you can download and you see some sorts of malware analysis, and you can do. Similarly, this is what I talked about. The formats will be given and the sources are open. I have already discussed that part. Then this is the data processing. Whenever we need some data, then it needs to be processed to find out what is the relevant informations. Just like any database, we need the normalization, deduplications of the data, enrichment that is there. Therefore, so much of research is there to find out if you are doing your BTech projects or MTech projects, then you can exploit the data which has been available publicly, then what sorts of normalizations and deduplications and enrichment, how the informations can be coming from the data. Then integrations is not required. Let me, these are the outputs I have already discussed. Any threat intelligence platform, the output will be in form of the SIEM, then endpoint, firewall, IPS, and APIs. Therefore, the analysis and response phase here, actually the threat intelligence platforms provides features that aid with analysis of potential threats and corresponding mitigations. And particularly now the practical applications of here that will be input to a security operations center, I will be covering in the next slides. Here actually some of the commonly popularly available, I think, threat intelligence platforms, IBM X-Force, Anomaly, ThreatStream, Palo Alto Network. Please, if you have an interest to read and have a security as a career, then please go through this, or particularly if you want to work on threat intelligence platform, then you please go through their websites. They are the, I think, popularly popular TIPs produced by various, I think, security agencies. These are, I think, some more, I think, TIPs, SolarWinds, Cisco Threat Intelligence, SonicWall. And I have even a comparison, actually, how all these, this is being, again, the slides are taken from open sources. Therefore, even if you can get a detailed picture about how and what are the available threat intelligence platforms, what is their working, and if you can have certain inputs and what is the research inside. Here, actually, you see the middle person, if you are a student and a scientist, you see almost all threat intelligence platform, they utilize machine learning and some analytics and big data applications. Therefore, I thought that, okay, this will be relevant in particularly this platform, because this is a big data, women in big data chapter. Therefore, you see almost all popularly available threat intelligence platform, they use machine learning, pattern matching, or statistical analysis, a big data to use. And even if these are other, I think, TIPs, and you please read the slides and go to the middle one, what is the intelligence that is being coming. Pricing, actually, because from a user point of view, the pricings are there. If you are a student and a practitioner, then you can go to the various, because they are the third-party intelligence provider. They have large databases where the inputs, the threats which are coming, that will be matched, and a predictive, I think, intelligence can be coming out. This is actually the basics of threat landscape, as well as threat, I think, threat landscape, as well as threat indicators, then threat intelligence platforms. Then I will be discussing about the operation, the applications of threat intelligence platform in a cybersecurity operation center. Actually, a security operation center, particularly SOC, where I have, I think, deliberately deleted the various IT infrastructures of Delhi Police, because it is our own things. I should not disclose what are various, but if you go to the website of Delhi Police, you will find out many citizens, and not only Delhi Police, every citizen-centric, I think all law enforcement agencies, they have their own citizen-centric services. Many things in Delhi Police, particularly, you have a Tatpar app. I think we have One Touch Single app. We have Himmat app for women's safety. Particularly, I'm talking in terms of women safety programs. If you are staying in Delhi, then you please go to various women safety applications, Tatpar app, and even if Himmat app. Suppose in anything, just you have, if only you need a mobile phone to reach to the police station or police in case of in distress. Therefore, you see how it has been managed. Now you see there are 2-3 projects that is coming up very soon, that is called Safe City projects, where entire Delhi will be covered with 10,000 cameras, and even from Delhi government there are 2 lakh cameras is also being implemented. The entire city is being covered with, I think, footage. And you see induction of drones, induction of body-worn cameras, many equipments, many IT, I think, friendly equipment that is coming. Therefore, the IT infrastructure information system is critical to the police operations. Earlier, it was thought that only communication needs to be taken care of. But besides this, we have a huge data center, and I think petabytes of data is being to be managed, because when you see 10,000, I think 2 lakh cameras to be managed, and many, I think you see the data from the camera, the video feeds that is to be processed, and a predictive way the informations to be managed, and a predictive policing concepts will be there. Therefore, the threats will be vulnerability exploits, APT attacks, web application attacks, DOS and DDoS, malware and spyware. Therefore, the SOC deliverable will be there is a 24/7 platform where this threat intelligence platform is being embedded. Therefore, the objective will be to monitor, analyze, correlate, escalate intrusion events, develop appropriate response, protect, detect, and respond, conduct incident management and forensic investigations, maintain security community relationship, assist in crisis operations. Therefore, that is actually the basic of a next generation SOC. And this is all about, when we talk about a SOC, it talk about not only the technology, it is the people, process, as well as technology. This is a quite, I think a practical term, because the technology need to be managed by a technical people. Therefore, how to enhance the skills of the people, that is being important. Then what is the process that will be associated with? This is actually the high level architecture of a security operations center. I think I have covered what is being there. Next will be not discussed. This is actually, even if you go to the Webroot, the defense, then you will find out what are various, I think, big data applications being used to provide threat intelligence applications. Just you type Webroot Gartner, then you will see the use of applications. I mean to say how threat intelligence being used, or the big data being used in threat intelligence. Thanks. I had slides I need to cover in 1 hour. I hope that I have covered in 50 minutes. Therefore, any suggestions, questions, that is open to you. Thank you. Thank you, Jasdeep ma'am. Thank you, Madam Abhilasa. I have covered in hurriedly because I thought that I have to complete it within 50 minutes, and I've covered. Then question and answer session for 10 minutes, please. And it is open. Anybody can ask a question, and anybody can answer it. And I think even if you can ask, if you are a Delhi citizen, then being a police working in Delhi police, you may even ask what are the various, I think, citizen-centric services, and how you can approach in case of a cyber fraud. That will be more, I think, relevant. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Jasdeep. Thank you, the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now it's open for question and answer session. If anybody is having any question, can unmute or can write question in the chat box. Sir, I have first question which is coming in my mind after seeing your presentation. Like, you have covered all the aspects in your presentation. The question which is coming is that will the cybercrime coming in the future will be mainly targeting to the like the devices, IoT devices and smartphones only? What do you think, sir?
Yes, this is a very relevant question. I have already discussed. If you go to the science of cybercrime, then there must be some vulnerabilities. the vulnerabilities can be because some vulnerabilities will be exploited. If you talk about ransomware, because some vulnerabilities was there in the operating system. That is the reason. Therefore, whether the technology being used, if there is a new technology, then there is a chance of, because in 2012 to 15, there was no concept of, I think, CCTVs or even if drones and other things. But here that is there. Therefore, it is now whenever there is a technology being inducted, then there is a threat perception is also inducted. Therefore, it depends upon what type of new technology is coming, what is the vulnerabilities associated. This is one. Second will be, what is the, I think, a platform that is also coming, then what is the policy that is being there. Therefore, all these three that will be taking to place. But however, recently, IoT is actually a new trend and that is being inducted. Therefore, no such, I think, threat intelligence being covered in recent devices. But however, when these devices will be prone to various attacks, automatically the database will be increasing and threat intelligence is also being increasing.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So I can see one question in chat box. How can companies engage in building citizen services?
Companies engaged. Okay, you see, I mean to say citizen services, I mean to say now there is a digital India concept in particular Government of India. Almost all initiatives that is being delivered through a digital India process. Particularly, I'm talking about Indian concepts. Therefore, I think that is being extensively used now, and particularly almost all law enforcement agencies also. If you talk about Delhi Police, there are many citizen-centric services. So far as the companies are concerned, therefore, they have certain, I mean to say, whether it will be a paid service or non-paid service, there are many paid services also available. They are using Amazon and also Paytm. Many companies, they are providing their, I think, citizen-centric services. But non-paid, I think there is limited from a commercial perspective. But however, they have their own CSR funds that is being extensively used. At present, I do not have any, I think, detailed information what type of citizen-centric available from commercial perspective. But no doubt, from government of, I think, perspective, there are many, most of the things that is being, I think, many things that is being covered in Digital India concepts.
Yes, sir. Any other question? Actually, I have one more question, sir. Sir, I request you to share few examples of threat intelligence, which every organizations like already have, but they are not realizing it, like in universities also, if you talk about. So what kind of threat intelligence universities or organizations are already having, but they are not realizing
I know some of the organizations because their own threat intelligence is there. Even if Cisco, they have a Talos, I think they are threat intelligence. Infosys, I think they have Hunter. Even if you go to the I think website, you type Hunter, then you will get Infosys. They have a brilliant, I think, threat intelligence platform. Similarly, Wipro, I think I have forgotten what is the name, but they have their own threat intelligence. Almost all threat intelligence platforms, they are in almost all companies. Even if Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, they must have. But in ministry, recently, Ministry of Home Affairs, they have going to launch one such platform that is called Pratiman, being managed with NIC, Pratiman, and where actually almost all departments this is being connected. Therefore, even if university level, you see, university, I think whether their operations are critical or not, that is to be, I think, taken care of, or whether they have certain funds to implement this thing. That is also a second aspect. But however, university students may be engaged they have to talk with various threat intelligence platform, as I mean to say, because you see, we have a training placement cell where the TPOs may coordinate with their, I think, IT team such that internships can be made. This is how the students can be benefited. But so far as whether a university require a TIP or not, that depend upon what type of data they are dealing with, and whether because you see, whenever I am going to implement a threat, I mean to say counter threat mechanism. Therefore, what type of, I mean to say, what is the data asset Suppose I am having an asset value of 50 rupees. If I will be spending more than 50, then it is not justified.
Yes.
That is actually a very debatable questions. What type of informations they have and whether they have the budget and whether the information is worthwhile. I mean to say, what is their value of the asset? That is actually.
Yes, sir. Yeah, understood. Thank you, sir. Any other question, anyone? So I'll take this privilege and I'll ask one more question, sir. Like I can see that a lot of students are having interest in security area and analysis also. So how we can map these two areas and how we can find a common path in which students are also learning AI and machine learning and the analytics things, and they are implementing that in the security.
Actually, I meant to say the machine learning, whenever there is predictive. Now you see the next generation firewall, for example, this firewall is not now firewall because they are next generation. They are called next generation firewalls. Therefore, where I think actionable intelligence is there, whenever there will be actionable or predictions or predictive analysis, therefore AI plays an important role. They must have a data, they must have a training set, then some intelligence will be there. Now the question will be how the students, whatever they are learning, how they can be used. Therefore, you see, there must be industry tie-off. Otherwise, in a university or a college scenario, I think because you see, if you talk about the leading firewalls, particularly Palo Alto, or even if Fortinet or Cisco, they have their next generation firewalls being deployed in many organizations. Therefore, here actually the students must be engaged as interns, and there must be industry tie-off between the university as well as the students. Therefore, otherwise, what you can do, the students may be invited to the industry, how they must see what type of, even if in IGDTU, while I was the training placement, even if Jasdeep madam, she may answer, therefore many students, they are being, I think, doing their internship in many, I think, organizations. Now the question will be whether they will be engaged particularly in this security or not. That is a question mark. But however, there are many security industries also. They can be, I think, that these things to be explored in the university level itself. Otherwise, you see, even if in many even if while Tayal sir, I think he has in IGDTU, I know they have a honeypot projects. Therefore, where some minimum basic AI can also be utilized, whatever data being collected, how this data can be analyzed, and a machine learning approach can be taken care of. Yes, similarly, when I've talked about somebody wants to do malware research, therefore we need a sandbox. The sandboxes are available. Cuckoo sandbox is, I think, it is open source available. Students can download, and the data set is also available freely. Therefore, they can take generally all, I think, machine learning concepts to analyze all these things.
Thank you so much, sir. So I can see one question from Soumya is put up one question. Is the Himmat app available for India or only for Delhi?
Himmat app is available anywhere in India, but I think the person must have, you see, the basic concept here is Himmat Plus is a plus app. Therefore, only there are many new concepts that is being coming in Himmat app. Suppose I think a person, whether it is a male or female, no worry. Particularly, it is for women's safety. Suppose they have the SOC numbers. I mean to say there, I think SOC calls. I mean to say just she needs to, I think, shake the mobile phone. Automatically, the alert will be going to the police station, nearest police station. Just she needs to shake 4 or 5 times instead of typing. Then automatically the Himmat Plus app is intelligent enough to provide information to the concerned nearest police, and the PCR will come within 2-3 minutes. Okay. And just to use, I please, madam, tell the students to download the Himmat Plus or Tatpar app. This is Tatpar. Okay. Tatpar app, there are 80, I think more than 50 citizen-centric services available. And out of almost all citizen-centric services, it is available in both iOS as well as Android.
Okay.
So even if almost all, whether it will be passport verification or you have all citizen-centric, it is brilliantly managed by NEGD, National E-Governance Division. And I was I think, a pioneer. I mean to say, I was a part member of that developing team. Okay. No doubt, thanks to this Ministry of IT, NEGD team, they have developed, along with our DCP IT and my boss, I think additional CP, technology cell, and many. Really, it is a very brilliant applications, and I think suggest almost all students they should, or any citizen must download this application and use it.
Yeah, surely, sir. Thank you so much for a wonderful session and very knowledgeable session. And I hope everyone will be very benefited for this. Soumya, Ekta, Piyush, would you like to say something, or would you like me to end this?
Thank you, Abhilasha, and thank you, Mohapatra. This is Soumya here. I'm so happy to hear you speak, and thank you for your service to the country and keeping us safe. What a wonderful session on learning about threat landscape. I did not know about the Himmat app, and that's why there were so many questions. Women's safety is paramount, and I think it's very important that we look at that. And cybersecurity is such a large looming threat, given everybody is digital now. So very happy for the session. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, all the participants. Even if in the last, I conclude that the students, particularly citizens, particularly all the girl students of Delhi or throughout the India, they must use this cybercrime.gov.in for any types of cyber security incidents. The immediate response will be available to them. If they want to do anonymously or they want to hide their name also, that can be done. Therefore, no worry for any cyber crime, and it can be reported without any worry, and hasslelessly people can do this. And please add Himmat Plus, I mean to say Tatpar app, use Tatpar app and get the benefit of what are the various citizen-centric services. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.